I think it's about 1 o'clock. In fact, my watch got a little past 1 o'clock. Okay, you got a new chairman. We're starting a little slow. Anyway, we'd like to welcome everybody. And this ought to be interesting. But we'd like to start out. It'll be a learning experience for some of us, I'm sure. We'd like to start out. I'd like to ask if Dr. Sherry Buchanan would stand up. We have a little something for her. Dr. Buchanan has been the chairman of our board for the past 2 years. And she's had plenty of excitement. And to her service as a board chairman, she's brought a number of talents. And I was thinking about this morning, one, she's very intelligent. Number two, she's well organized. Number three, she's discerning. She sees things over and over again that I didn't see, and she'd say something like that, and I'd have an aha moment. And the fourth thing about it is she really cares about people. And she shows she cares. A lot of times when she does a lot of little things that a lot of people don't know in a sense. So we want to give her this plaque and recognition for years of service, and thank her very much.
Well, thank you. This is beautiful.
And I've got a few comments I want to start out with before we actually get into the business. I'm just telling Dr. Buchanan, it's amazing. You can sit there and listen to what's going on and think you know. Then if the positions get changed, you find out you don't know as much as you thought. But I did want to start out and talk. Dr. Buchanan and Dr. Marble and I have been meeting every week since he started. And one of the questions we've been looking at is, where should Missouri Southern be going? What's our future like? And we've been thinking about it, and these are personal comments too. It dawned on me that if you start looking about where we're going, you ought to start out with your vision statement. So I went back to our vision statement, and it says, our vision statement says simply, Missouri Southern State University will be recognized as a leader in offering undergraduate and graduate degree programs that foster the total education of each student. Well, that sounds good. That's where we want to go, but how do we achieve this vision? Well, I believe we start out with one advantage here. We've got good people. Good people who really desire success for both this university and its students. And in that group, or two groups of good people, one of them is the people that work here in the university. They really care about others. They work hard. Many of them are very dedicated. I'm looking around and I think of some of them that not only put in extra hours, but they profess their love for this university, and they're dedicated to helping the university and also helping students. And that's important because we want our students to be successful not only here, but when they leave here, don't we? Then the other group we've got is our partners, like the Missouri Southern Foundation, the members, the alumni, the linebackers, and we got others that really care about and want to support this university. And in meetings with people around this region, I've had people come up to me and tell me they're about their tie-in, their kids went here or going here, they went here, or their wife went here, and talk to me about how they really love this university and they want the best for it. And a lot of these people want to know what they can do to help out. I think knowing this, that as we're looking at what we can do to achieve our vision, there's, I think, two strategies that we can utilize that really help us out. One is continuous improvement. We cannot be satisfied with where we're at right now. We've got to be striving for continually doing better in everything that we do. The other thing that is probably just as important is working together. I've learned, I'm approaching 70 years old, I'm not there yet, And in that time, I've learned that a group of people can do a lot more working together than just one person. The more of us that we can get to work together, the more unity we have, the more success that we have. And for us to do that, I think it's important that we start out and have some goals. We should be looking at goals. And some of the, I've shared some examples of goals with Dr. Marble, and some of the goals that I've shared with him we need to be looking at is improving student learning outcomes, increasing enrollment of students, expanding educational opportunities for students, increasing retention of students, improving the student graduation rate, utilizing resources more effectively, improving our financial stability, and increasing communications with our university partners. And I think he has got a bunch of people that are working on that. In addition to goals, we also need objectives to achieve these goals. And these objectives should have several things. One, a specific measurement for these objectives. We need to have timelines. We also need to have individuals who are accountable for each objective. And he has been working on that. The goals I gave are not inclusive by any means. That was just examples to start out with. We work hard, but I want to make one little final comment about that. Effort is very important, but tangible results are really what count. So we need to work in our continuous improvement and getting more and better tangible results. And that ends my comments to start out with. Let's look at the minutes of the June 20, 2013 meeting.
Move to accept.
Second. Do we have any additions or changes to that?
I can do it. My name was inserted inadvertently in comments I think Dr. Dorkin was making.
Okay.
Somehow that was in there, so probably I don't recall it wasn't in there.
Okay.
Wasn't on the tape somehow.
So is that,
Yes, that's fine.
so
I will alter my motion.
Governor Anderson made the motion.
I made the second all.
Okay. Governor Fleischaker made the second. Was that change agreeable to both of you?
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And next, we have our treasurer, Ms. Ice.
Thank you and good afternoon. Wanted to let you know that the annual audit is still underway and it's going smoothly. We still anticipate presenting that report at the October 18th board meeting, so we should be on track for that. We try to present that in October of each year, and I'll keep you posted as we move along. For the year ending FY 2013, at this time it looks like we ended with approximately unrestricted cash plus investments of $12.8 million. And compared to the prior year, that's a difference of about $1.2 million. As we move to the discussion for the July 2013 financial statements, this is the first month of our new fiscal year. There's not a whole lot of activity yet, but we do have some numbers that we can provide. The cash at the end of July 31st is at $10.4 million, and this is an increase over the prior year of a little over $600,000. On the statement of net assets, total assets are at $133 million, and this includes $16.7 million of accounts receivable, which is primarily the student accounts. In July, obviously, the fees aren't due yet, and so that usually has a pretty large balance in July, and you'll see that going down as fees are getting paid by students in the coming months. Total liabilities are at $29 million, and a large part of that is obviously our bonds payable that's out there of $25.3 million, giving us total net assets of $104 million for the month. We move to the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net assets. We look at the difference column, and this compares the current year to the prior year. You can see operating revenues right now are showing an increase of about $481,000. Total operating expenses show an increase of about $357,000. Non-operating revenues shows an increase of about $38,000. The current year is showing an increase in net assets of $15.1 million. The prior year has 14.9, so this gives us a comparative increase over the 2 years of about $162,000. The other thing that's going on in our office, you'll recall that I mentioned previously about the RFP for depository services for the university and that we had sent that out. The bid was sent to 11 vendors. The submissions came in, and along with the bid review, we offered the opportunity for those financial institutions to come to campus with a meet and greet presentation. I had a committee that assisted in the review, and I'd like to thank them for their participation and the due diligence that they took in making a selection. On that committee were Donna Kim, Alicia Hughes, Jan Garner, and Tim Owen. So we had a broad spectrum of someone out of HR payroll, out of the bursar's office, out of the treasurer's office, and from IT. So we had a good mix of people taking a look at this. We are pleased to announce that UMB will be our new depository service provider. They're very excited to team with us on this service. They have a long history, and they are currently celebrating their 100th year anniversary. So that's pretty exciting for them. They were selected because of their attention to detail, their clear and concise response to our RFP, their customer service, and can-do approach. We called references. They spoke very highly of them. Their customer service is top-notch. It's priority 1 for UMB. So we're just thrilled to have them, and we'll move forward with that transition. I've offered up some documents to the board for them to sign that will help along with that implementation. Do you have any questions on either the financial statements or with regard to the RFP?
Can I have a motion that we accept this financial statement?
So,
Second.
Okay, Governor Ewing, motion it. Commissioner Fleischaker, second. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our Vice President for Business Affairs, Mr. Rob Hughes.
Thank you. We have a longer than normal construction report. There's several projects going on campus. We'll start with the one that'll be really exciting, and we'll finish it up pretty quick, and that's the Icon Sculpture and Plaza. The plaza is nearly complete. In fact, they were supposed to finish the capstones on the seating walls today, and hopefully move up their equipment out of the oval by the end of the day so that we can get ready for Monday's grand opening and the unveiling, which I'm sure Joanne will talk about that in her report, but it'll be a very exciting time around here on Monday. And we hope that we can have as many of y'all present for that 12 o'clock unveiling as possible. The residence hall, as I mentioned at a previous meeting, we are working with the architects on the design of an approximately 200-bed residence hall. This design is more of an apartment townhouse type of a design, different than our current residence halls. Each house will have 4 students with their own bedrooms and their own bathroom, and I'm sure it'll be very well received. It'll be a nice facility. They're going to share a common living space and a kitchen area, and then we'll look at addressing some of the infrastructure area, issues over in the residence hall complex as we have the available funds from the bond issue that we mentioned. In addition to that residence hall, the FEMA shelter is being designed as we speak. We're getting closer on a landing on design. If you recall, we were granted a FEMA grant to the tune of about $64,000 for design of the facility. Then once that's approved, then we'll go to the construction phase and we'll get that grant as well. That should house approximately 2,000 people, and that'll be close proximity to the new residence hall, so it'll be very nice. While the architects for those projects are on campus, we got them to look at Reynolds Hall, because I know there's been some issues in Reynolds Hall for quite some time. We did do some cosmetic work with our physical plan office, and they did great job over there in doing some asbestos abatement on some tiles, and they did some sprucing up, but none of the infrastructure items that really need to happen in Reynolds Hall. So we're having the architects look at Reynolds Hall, see what can be done, how we can stage it, and the price tag for any renovation that we can do. And finally, there's a new project on the horizon. We're working with architects on the design of an athletic support facility that's going to be located on the north end of the football stadium. This is approximately an $8 million facility, and we've obtained external funding that has been raised to construct the lower floor of that. It's going to be a phased project, but we are going to continue to seek funding for the rest of the project, but we will begin phase one. We're designing that project now, begin phase one construction around the first of the year, calendar year. Hopefully it'll be done by the start of the football season. This is a culmination of over 4 years of planning and fundraising. So we're very excited about this, and it'll be a great addition to the athletic facility. And finally, on non-construction, in regards to information technology, I would like to introduce Mr. Al Stadler. He's back there. He is. He's our Chief Information Officer. He's going to share some exciting news about a new mobile application initiative that will serve our students. Mr. Stadler.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Hughes stated, the Information Technology Department has some exciting news to share for everyone who carries a mobile device. We just published our first mobile application in the Apple and Google App Stores. This app allows our students to check their class schedules, book lists, and grades, as well as to access campus news and events. The app also connects our students to our social media resources, including Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Another great feature is the campus map using the Google Mapping service. In time, the IT department will add more functions to the app and provide updates as they are needed. You can find our app by searching for MSSU in your app store. I'll be happy to assist any of you in installing this app on your smartphone after the meeting. It's simple and it's fast. We're thrilled to provide the service to the students.
Maybe get him to do it now.
Yeah?
Punching them up right now.
You got it?
If you do, some of us would need help.
Break.
I'll be more than happy to help.
Break.
Thank you.
For the phone. Look at him go. Is there any questions for Al or myself?
Thank you.
Sure.
Next, we have our athletic director, Mr. Jared Bruggeman.
Thank you very much. I will keep the report very brief. I did give you the 3-page report. It's in front of you, as well as a schedule of events. We are in our seasons. Teams have reported and are practicing. They're out and about, and you'll see them around. I did want to point out that last year our men's basketball attendance ranked 15th nationally in Division II, where we had over 22,000 fans attend our games or go through the doors for our games last season. That is the third year in a row we've been ranked in the top 20 for attendance in Division II. If people are wondering where their tickets and parking permits are, since the game is coming up here next month, they will be mailed out this next week. So we look forward to that. We also would like to let everyone know that we will have a kickoff rally. It's a fall kickoff rally at Freeman Health Systems on their campus on 8/25, and it starts at 6 o'clock. Our sports teams for the fall will be there. It's a joint venture between Missouri Southern Athletics and Freeman Health Systems, and we're going to be distributing apparel, have autograph signing sessions. The band will play, the cheerleaders, the coaches will talk, and hopefully it'll be a great event, and the weather will help as well. Item 4 to discuss here or let you know is that our student athletes last year had a cumulative GPA of 3.06, which is outstanding. I don't think if you added up my GPA, we'd get to that. Our women's led the charge with a 3.26 GPA across the board, and that's about 360 student athletes are averaging above a 3.0. The final part I would like to mention is the Southern Fest 2013 was actually the first week of August of this year. It was another great success. We're still running the numbers. It does take a while to run all the numbers and pay all the bills. But I want to thank all the volunteers from around the campus who contributed in making that a success. We had many university departments, including IT, and people from all different areas came and helped, whether they ran computers or donated items. An example would be Josh Doak, who's from the housing. He actually donated several baseballs that were in the auction, autographed by professional baseball players. I don't know where he got them, if he's a groupie or what, but anyway, he donated those and we auction them off and the resources come back to support it. And many people around the campus make that a go, so we appreciate all of that. And that concludes my report, unless there's some questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jared, what time was that kickoff rally?
6 o'clock?
One thing I'd like to add is, last year we had a record 304 memberships to the linebackers. And I know there's been a lot of people working real hard. We've already got 40 some odd new members. And I'd like to encourage all those past that were members last year to re-up so we can hopefully break that 350, even 400 mark. So you're getting new members you're getting sign-ups all the time, aren't you?
Every day we're getting more and more, especially as you get closer to the season, people start wondering, they can't remember if they did or didn't, so.
That was about the most we ever had, 304.
304, maybe the largest we've ever had, certainly, so. Thank you.
Next, we have our VP for Development, Ms. Joanne Brent.
Thank you. Want to start off with a big thank you to everyone for Third Thursday last night. This is the second year that we have sponsored a Third Thursday event in downtown Joplin, and we had a tremendous turnout last night. We had 16 non-academic departments and 17 academic departments that participated in the event. And if you were there, we were stretched out from 7th Street all the way down to 2nd Street, really, but we were primarily concentrated in a 3-block area. It was just tremendous, a lot of great energy. We had a lot of student athletes there and coaches and administrators from athletics that were doing things, passing out schedules, having games, all sorts of things like that. We had some wonderful academic representation. I know the engineering technology program brought one of their robots down. That was really interesting, and there were other visuals and ways that the departments could interact. Communications department had a camera there so people could pretend like they were on TV and trying to get students interested in that area, and lots of different exciting things. Our art students always have a gallery, have exhibits in the Focal Point Art Gallery, which was also there last night, and an alumni reception in which I know we had a steady stream of alumni coming in for the opportunity to meet Dr. Marble, and I appreciate him spending some time out there.
I think it's for the food.
Yeah. Well, I have to talk about that part. But anyway, in student affairs, everybody was just tremendous and wonderful. In the bookstore, I'm looking around going, oh yeah, and you were there. Bookstore was selling items, so it was a great event, and we really appreciate everybody's involvement, and I think it's a great way for us to be involved in the community. And we're looking forward. We've already scheduled it. Next year, we've scheduled it for September to give everybody a little more time to kind of academic departments in particular to get in session and think about what they want to do. But so we're looking forward to it. So thanks, everybody.
Joanne?
Yes.
If I may, the thing that I noticed is how interactive all of you were with the crowd. And it was a great crowd, but many times you go to those events and people kind of walk by and look, but we had students and staff and faculty and administrators, and just the interactions were wonderful.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great team effort, and I've got to thank Cassie and Alyssa in particular for spearheading everything, but everybody really pulled together. There was a tremendous committee that worked on it. Cole, and I'm going to look to see who else is in the room, but yeah, and it was, like you said, it was very interactive. It wasn't really just standing and kind of watching
Or passing
traffic go
things
by.
out, just
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, so. In some other news, we have the Student Alumni Association is getting active and are working with a new program in conjunction with the retention area of traditions and working on traditions on campus. And we always know we want our alumni to feel connected to the university, and one way of doing that is helping get students connected to the university early on. And so we have a student who will be doing a tradition speech at the freshman convocation this year, and we'll carry that through with the Student Alumni Association, looking for ways to help connect the students to campus. So we're looking forward to that initiative and partnering on that. Just from a numbers perspective, one of the things that many of you may recall that we started last year was sending out emails. If we have your email in the database and we have your birthday in the database, then you receive an email birthday announcement from us. We started that last year, so now that we've closed a full year of it, we had more than 6,000 emails that we sent out last year to our alumni with those birthday recognitions, and that's one thing that we're going to start now that we've been through a year. We're able to benchmark that. So we'll look to next year, the end of next year, and see how we've grown. So obviously with the idea of continuing to expand that program. As Mr. Yu said, we have our Lion unveiling on Monday. So we're very excited about that. It is at noon on Monday in front of Billingsley Student Center. I think where it's at is pretty obvious when you walk outside. So you should no longer have to go around the construction tape to get to it at that point in time. And we'll certainly have participation from our student senators. Mr. Triplett is going to speak for us, representing the student senators. Our other donors, Bill and Tracy Gibson, will be there. And so please, we hope you can join us, and we're excited about doing that right at noon during kind of the heart of the Welcome Back picnic, the great partnership with Student Affairs. So we hope many of you can join us for that. A couple other things in development I wanted to report on. We have, I think the new Mac Lab is up and running in the School of Technology, so we've worked to secure funding for that over the course of the last few months. Combination of grant funds and private contributions, we made that happen. So,
School of Education.
What did I say?
Technology.
Oh, I'm sorry. School of Education. Thank you. Yeah, needs the Mac Lab because that's what they use. We're a PC campus, but they use Macs when they go out into the teaching world. So that's a real important thing that we've been talking to them about for some time. We also, another year-end item, I wanted to let you know that we had 8 new endowments created last year, and many of those were scholarships, but we're pleased with that number. CNCS grant for the Community National Service. They're getting ready for that trip to New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut coming up to benefit the victims of Hurricane Sandy, as well as the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. So that's the Stars of Hope, and many of that was another activity at Third Thursday last night, was painting Stars of Hope. So those will go to that area. We also painted last night for the victims of Moore, Oklahoma, and that will happen in December. So we'll be taking a group down there as well. So, and also on University Relations and Marketing, we have some new. You probably have noticed we've had some ads running for the last few weeks that have been enrollment ads. That we've been pleased with those campaigns, running television, radio, and print ads around that push. And I think the combination of, obviously, admissions has been out working very, very hard, and everybody in student affairs, and hopefully this helps support that, because I know there was a jump in enrollment applications during that campaign. So I think everybody working together has helped with that. We have our open house scheduled. Governor Buchanan had asked about that last time. We were waiting till the fall for everybody to get back on campus, but you've seen your notes, in September 20th, we'll have that open house coming up for the University Relations and Marketing Department, so you can see those new facilities. We've done that on a board day. Hopefully you can come and join us and take a look at the new facilities. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Next, we have our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Pat Lapierre.
Yeah, we had our all faculty, I'm calling it a celebration this morning. I used to call it a meeting, we used to call it a workshop, and it's really not neither of those. It's we celebrated one another. We celebrated and acknowledged the years of service, and you have a handout that shows faculty. There's a green on the top, and it's we had 5 that have got awards for 15 years of service. We had 4 that got awards for 20 years of service. We had 7 that got 25 years of service, 2 with 30 years, and 1 with 35 years. So that handout will kind of show you some of our dedicated faculty that have been here for a few years. And then on the flip side of that, we introduced new faculty. So it's always kind of an exciting time when we have those that have had all these years of experience, and we have those that are just coming in. So this peach color, or whatever this is, I'm not sure, but it's new faculty, and we do have 23 new faculty, and they are everywhere from California to New York and about 13 states in between, and very diverse group. I really enjoyed meeting with them. They had orientation, and Crystal Lemons really set up their orientation for Wednesday morning. They had orientation Thursday morning, and got to know them. It's a real good bunch, so we're really looking forward to them joining us. And then last night we had adjunct faculty orientation. So they've been busy, but it was a real fun morning having the new ones there with some of them that have served a long time. In addition, we recognized the faculty that received Outstanding Faculty Awards last year. We had 2 that got Outstanding Teaching and 1 that got the Outstanding Advisor. And we also had 14 faculty that earned a promotion in rank last year, and 8 that achieved full tenure, so we recognized them. And we also had a couple faculty that took sabbaticals last fall, and they really, we've never used this setting to do this, but I thought it was great. Typically, they just have like a brown bag lunch and tell a handful of faculty what they did, but they spent about 5-10 minutes telling us what their experience was, and I thought both of them were really, really interesting. So we also I took the opportunity to say, let's welcome one another and thank one another and encourage one another, because again, we need each other, all of us. And Dr. Marvel did a great job visiting with the faculty, and he got the Believe theme out, and leadership and following and so forth. And just in general, it's going to be a busy year. It doesn't slow down. We continue. It doesn't ever, you don't ever check it off. It's going. So we have, we've got lots of things on the books, like we're going to be completing our tenure document. That's in the works. We got revising the faculty handbook, looking at enhancing our graduate school opportunities, increasing our dual credit enrollment. Our red pages continue to get improved. We're trying to get more community college partnerships, looking at trying to get more course offerings. And so there's lots of things going on, but I did want to say there in my handout, the highlight that really I think most importantly is that our faculty are just going to continue to strive to be excellent in the classroom, to be outstanding in academic advising, and to have admirable university service. Those are the 3 things that I think are critical and that will make, as I said down there, the last statement I said is that faculty are back, and they're on campus, and they're ready to get to work, and I feel it, and they're ready to get to work to make Missouri Southern the best place to go to school and the best place to work. We're not talking about one of the, but the best. And so that's kind of what we feel, and I'm feeling that from the faculty. So we're excited, and we'll be anxious to report to you throughout the year what's going on. Any questions?
Thank you. Sounds like quite a celebration.
Yeah, we had fun.
I think it's going to continue
That's
tonight.
good. That's good.
It ought to be fun. This is a great business.
It should, thank you. Next, our Vice President for Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Darren Bolton.
Thank you, Governor Walker. Wanted to talk about a couple things, and I'll be brief because you have the report in front of you there, but Student Affairs received the college completion grant from the Missouri Department of Higher Education, $30,000 to assist our students. We have a large percentage of our students that come in as undeclared majors, and so Nicole Brown in Career Services, Kelly Wilson in our Advising, Counseling, Testing Office will be coordinating a variety of activities that will accumulate with a major, minor, and career preparation academy to educate students about the possibilities, try to get information out to them in a faster manner, in a quicker fashion, so that they can make those educated decisions. It's not uncommon, unfortunately, today for someone to switch major 2, 3, sometimes 4 or more times. And so we're trying to utilize our resources to reach out to the students even prior to. We're using the TRIO programs to get to the high school and elementary age students to start talking about career opportunities, and we'll be reaching out to them to have that program initiated this fall. No Levitz updates. The committees continue to work on that. Many of the things that Dr. Lapierre mentioned, course schedules, and again, this is an extremely busy time of the year, but even with the day-to-day things that the faculty and the staff are doing, they are looking at the course loads, and they're looking at how many students are in those classes and figuring out how we can best serve the needs of our students. And so we appreciate everyone bearing down on that and helping with the additional work there. The strategic enrollment plan document is in draft form and hopefully will be finalized and out to the committees by the end of this month. Did want to point out to you, we talked a little bit about the sequester earlier, and some of the things like tuition assistance were backed out of that. Our TRIO programs were hit with about a 5.23% decrease. So that was our Upward Bound program, our Talent Search, and our, we call Project Stay, which is student support services. So those programs have had to adjust. In most of those programs, it means a reduction in the number of students that we will be serving, and cuts to different programs or skill-packed versions of some of those programs. But the staff are changing and cooperating with the other areas on campus to make sure that we're not going to see a slip in the service that we provide in any of those TRIO programs, even though they have seen a reduction in the funding from the federal level. Lion Pride Weekend, we did pass out a flyer for you just to give you an idea of some of the things our first year experience staff, as well as other faculty and staff. We have recreational services, student services, career services, residence life, a lot of different people cooperating on different programs. In addition to the faculty and staff events we have tonight, they also have a cookout. There's an outdoor movie. And we were very fortunate with the weather. Who would have thought it would be this nice in August for an outdoor movie, so they're very thrilled there. Dodgeball tournaments, tomorrow bingo, toga party, so we want to get that true college experience. It will be supervised, I assure you. Sunday, I do want to remind you about the student convocation. Many people don't really understand the concept of a convocation. It's a reverse graduation. Before they get to graduation, we want the students to come across the stage and be welcomed into the Missouri Southern family officially. They'll hear Dr. Marble speak. We have a student speaking. We also have an alum that's coming back to speak, Dr. Nathan Box. The students will receive a Lion medallion. Then they'll have an opportunity to have an aerial photo taken. They'll all march out to the football field. We'll line them up and spell out MSSU. And then we'll have a reception for the parents. Then we do what we call Campus Crazed on Sunday evening. That's really a time to show the students around campus, show them where their classes are, because many of them started moving in yesterday. And if you look at page 2 of that report, I won't refer to it, but Dr. Marble's got a couple pictures in there. And on Facebook, I kept the good ones in here. So, but really just making these students and their families. It's ironic that we had about 75 to 100 students RSVP for the convocation and over 200 parents. And so the parents are definitely coming with their students to be engaged in campus, so we appreciate that. A couple other things in the brochure just to let you know about the residence hall move-in, and we just wanted to say thank you to the President's Council members and Dr. Marble for going and helping students move in, as well as the fraternities and sororities here. People were amazed that we had 50 to 75 people at the ready when they pulled up with their cars loaded, and some of the folks had 3 or 4 cars loaded full of items for one dorm room, but they were amazed that the university reached out to them. So that concludes my report. If there are any questions, or if you have questions after you read over any of it, just let me know.
Mr. Chairman.
What's the movie?
The movie's actually The Great Gatsby, the new one, the new release. So that's been the most asked question this week.
I might add one thing for the benefit of the governors. All you governors have got a little tag here. Some of us been around and gone through a number of tags, and we had one that was kind of paper that some of us had to add tape on once in a while to keep it together. And I understand that our thanks should be to Darren and to Dr. Marble. Were you responsible for this, Darren?
Dr. Marble was responsible for saying, take care of the tags and get something that's durable. And our campus police and university relations worked with us to design something that we hope will be durable and you'll be able to utilize.
I just suggested it.
Something we can't tear up quite as easily.
I wasn't going to say that.
No, you weren't.
Yeah.
The duct tape was looking a little shabby.
Anyway, thank you. For some of us that are challenged in maintaining our tags, thank you.
Very well.
Governor Walter, I just saw that Dr. Bob Adebayo's here.
Okay.
Bob, would you stand? This is our new Director of Institutional Research and Assessment. And as you know, Dr. Dolores Honey had been in that position previously. So Dr. Abayo's only been with us since the start of August, and we're happy to have him. I wanted to put a face to a name for you. Bob, thanks for being here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for
I saw his
saying that.
PhD was demography.
Demography.
We're excited to have him, but We're gonna have some good things coming out of there.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, other questions or comments? Thank you. Thanks for the introduction too. Next, we have our Faculty Senate President, Dr. Joy Dworkin.
Thank you. So as you know, Faculty Senate hasn't actually met as a full body since May. But the interim President Marble sought out representatives of Faculty Senate shortly after arriving and has been extremely available, which we're extremely appreciative of. And so the Executive Committee of Faculty Senate has gotten together several times over the summer, and once we had a very productive brainstorming session with interim President Marble and interim Vice President of Academic Affairs, Pat Lafira. It was a really successful initial brainstorming meeting. In general, faculty is very eager for the coming year. As Pat mentioned, the celebration this morning was just, it was kind of remarkable. It just felt like a really good start. Classes don't start until Monday, but I'll mention also that I did have the chance this week to meet with the new crop of honors students, and it was really delightful to look out at those bright, eager faces. So I already have a hit of, more of what's going to happen next week. I thought I would also mention, if I can do so without tearing up, that the natural excitement of the beginning of another academic year for me personally is a little bit more poignant because my own son is going to be embarking on his academic career, undergraduate career, very soon. But really, it just reminds me that, for faculty in general, it's a very strong moment always at the beginning of the academic year meeting with all those new students. I also had the chance this week to meet with some of the new faculty members, and that was very, very exciting. I'm glad that you have the full list here that we were given this morning, but I think that I was sad to see we lost some faculty members last year, but we have a really exciting group of people joining us, and the energy that I felt from them was really very strong, and I tried to convey when I met with them briefly that the passion that they have for their students and their fields. It's important that they also bring passion to those institutional engagements that are going to allow for higher education to continue to be strong in the future, and allow their passion for students in their subject areas to prosper. So, as Faculty Senate President, I was trying to encourage their voices and their leadership as they get going here. And then I'll just mention again that the party tonight, that I know many board members are not going to be able to attend, but we're really pleased to have a joint event sponsored by the Staff Senate and the Faculty Senate, and one of a number of collaborations to come, and it's going to be a good time. So if you can actually find a way to get there, hopefully you'll do so. I guess that's it.
Thank you. Kind of reminded me of something I sat next to a faculty member last year, and he was talking about the benefits of being a faculty member. You talk about your son, he was talking about many of his students who, for all of us, our students here, are our investment for the future. And he was talking about how he was so happy. He talked individually. In fact, there was a pretty good discussion. Well, it wasn't a discussion, it was me listening, because he has a lot of students he could talk about how successful they were and how appreciative it was about their success. And that's really great. And not only that, I've heard students talk about faculty members that had an influence on them too. and that's good too. So a lot of our faculty members really wrap their lives up in their students, and many of them get to see the benefit of their investment, so to speak, being successful. And it's good to be associated with something like that. Thank you. Staff Senate President, Ms. Alicia Hughes.
Thank you. The Staff Senate Elections Committee recently selected the Southern Service Champ Award winners for this upcoming quarter. This quarter actually received the most nominations that we have ever had for the Southern Service Champ. And the award winners were Marilyn Walton for the classified staff, Helen Rainier from the physical plant, and Amanda Curtis from professional staff. The Senate is also soon going to begin work on what we're calling Restore the Roar, which will be a half-day in-service event that's planned to have educational opportunities as well as some team-building events to try and build kind of a sense of community amongst our staff members. We're very excited for the back-to-school kickoff celebration that's tonight, just echoing Dr. Dworkin's sentiments on that. Great to see the collaboration between the faculty and staff senate. Really excited, like you said, for what's to come there, and I think there's some great opportunity for some collaboration there. We also had conversation in our last meeting, which was Wednesday, regarding the staff senate having a community service day on our MLK Day, which is a day off this year, but should be a day of service. So the staff senate is looking into ways that we can provide some sort of community service and involve the staff in that as well. We just continue to brainstorm and seek ways to improve our campus community and improve the campus morale. And we're always looking for suggestions or anything like that. We're just very eager to get started in our new academic year, and thank you all very much for your support. Our next meeting is 9 o'clock on Wednesday, September the 11th. Any questions? Thank you.
Will you have bumper stickers that say "Restore the Roar"?
Do you like that?
I like that.
It's actually being utilized by football as well. So we won't do it for our event, but we're going to argue with athletics on who started Restore.
Okay, so Jared can pay for the bumpers too.
Give me a marker.
Work it out amongst yourselves.
Great minds think alike, right?
Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Next, we have Student Senate President, Mr. Noah Triplett.
All right, this will be brief because we really didn't do a whole lot this summer because students are out doing their own business as opposed to you productive people who are still right at it this summer year long. But just three things, just like Ms. Grafton said, the Lion statue is completed, which I'm really, really excited about. I think it'll be, start of a new chapter for this school. Also, I'm not sure if it is complete or if it is in the process of being completed, but the tunnel mural is looking fantastic right now. So I'm really excited about that also. The one thing that Student Senate did do, the Executive Council met once or twice, once just by ourselves to sort of brainstorm, and then a second time with our advisors to just hammer out some ideas that we want to start doing for this next semester. So.
Thank you. I talked about us being recognized as leaders. We can learn from each other. I know I can learn from a lot of people here. I think the students have showed us in some ways, and you just talked about one of them, how they can give us examples of leadership too, so we appreciate that. We always want our students to be successful, and they leave here and become leaders in the world. Some of you are doing a good job doing it while you're here. Thank you. Okay, next, board committees. Those that are sitting at the table have a couple of sheets here for board committees for the 2013-2014. It's on the first page. On the second page, just for your information, is the term limits for the governors too. This thanks to Sharon for handing this out. So also, some of you have maybe wondering, there's one committee that's not listed on the presidential search. And Dr. Buchanan and I have been talking. I've asked her, I'm thinking about Sharon, I was asked her if she'd be a co-chair. she's thought hard and serious about it, and I think she's gonna do it. And we've talked about it, and I've asked her to make some comments about what we're thinking, but and I'm gonna borrow some words that she used, because I think they're really good words. We want this process, and these are her words too, and I think they're good words. We want it to be comprehensive, we want it to be deliberate, we want it to be inclusive. And I think those are good words to use about our search process. Dr. Buchanan, would you like to say some more, please?
Surely. We do want to start the process. I know I've been asked several times what the timetable is, and we have a starting point on the timetable at this stage. Sometime after classes get started and things kind of settle in around campus, I think it'd be a good idea to have some meetings at various times so that lots of people can come and just start talking about what process do we want, what the search committee composition should be, what things we want, what are the needs and desires of the campus in terms of looking for our permanent leadership, those sorts of discussions, so that we can start formulating a timetable and the steps of the process. We've also ordered multiple copies of a book from the governing association, and those are available, as I understand it, some in the library, and all the board members will have
We've got some for board members and others we got in, and we will be handing them out, not this meeting, but so everybody, before we start talking around the campus, so we can hand them out and people can have access to what's in that.
So, more to come on the presidential search, but we want everybody at this stage to start thinking in terms of how do we want to go about this, and what do we need it to produce for us.
And we're not, at least I think to us, speed is not critical. What's important is looking for the right person. And also we want to, Dr. Marble is, I'm going to use his words, just started on his next challenge, he called it, reading the paper, and we want him to have a chance to do well on his challenge. So, but we do want to make sure we find the right person for our university. And speaking of Dr. Marble, some of us are looking forward to, he's next.
Committee reports.
No, we don't have any committee reports yet because we've been out.
All right.
Dr. Lupera and I will chat later.
Oh, sure.
I got tapped to be the academic affairs chair, so we'll chat later.
No problem.
Let me add that, it's a good point. For we have I call the committee assignments, the volunteers. That's what when I was in the Army, they used to call it volunteering when somebody asked you to do it. But anyway, Governor Ewing has volunteered to be the head of academic affairs, and Governor McCumber has volunteered to be over the budget audit committee this year. So we wish them success. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I do appreciate the opportunity to meet with Governor Walter and Dr. Buchanan weekly. I requested that to help maybe speed along the integration. There's a lot of moving parts at the university. It's nice to be caught up, so I'm very grateful for that. Also like to say thank you to everyone here for the warm welcome that you've given me. It's been fantastic. Reception was terrific. Staff senate, faculty senate, and outstanding. Look for great things ahead. This summer, I learned that the staff are here through the summer. We work 4 days, 10-hour days, start at 7 o'clock. But I wanted to get an early start, so I get here at 6:30. There were cars there already. People come in early and they go home late. They work hard here. They really do. And the faculty were here a lot. Not under contract, but they were here a lot. And That's something you don't find everywhere. This is a remarkable place with remarkable people, and I'm just delighted to be associated with it at this point in time. Something else I noticed about the faculty today before we move on at the celebration this morning. A lot of impressive things said. Pat did a great job and enjoyed too in her remarks. But I was watching. I kind of an observer of people, and we have 23 new people. 23 new faculty members show up, and I knew that the number was large because I got over there a little early to come to meet people. And as new faculty or new people, they were clustered together, naturally. They didn't know anyone really. So there were like two clusters, big clusters of new people. After, though, the celebration, they all left with experienced faculty people talking to them and working among them. So the mentoring started at that moment, and that's a remarkable thing. You should let your people know how terrific that is. I guess the only things to talk about, not the only things, but the first thing I should probably mention is the state budget, and we always need to kind of keep an eye on where we are there. The governor's 4% withholding, I think Kina's going to speak to that in some detail in a few moments, but you should know that we're not receiving that money currently, and until the veto session it will happen. We always are withheld 3%. So this 4% is in addition to that. So there's a lot riding on this veto session, and I know Kina's got to get into that in more detail. The second piece of the state funding puzzle that you might be interested in, or should be informed about, is the new COFI funding formula model that you recall Senator Pierce last year spent a lot of time working on a funding formula for all of higher education. Missouri Community College Association, MCCA, had a unified position, which they typically do. I'm learning that COFI is not quite as unified is a great good word. So it's a little more fragmented maybe than MCCA. However, COFI felt it was important to come up with a unified formula to present to Senator Pierce that needed to be woven together into this big funding formula that the state might use for higher education. The formula does weight FTE, full-time equivalent student numbers, heavily toward professional school and heaviest toward professional schools and heavy for graduate education. So universities without graduate programs don't benefit as much as those with large graduate programs. However, that tends to work to our advantage in a certain way because we have the Masters in Accountancy coming along. And if you don't have that brochure in front of you, we can get you one. In fact, I thought I saw David Smith here earlier. Oh, Dr. Smith, you're back there in the corner. Yes, wave your hand. Right here we go. This is the first standalone master's degree Missouri Southern's had, and I would yield some time to Dr. Smith to say a few words about this program, if he would be so kind.
Yeah, I'd like to start out with a thank you for Cassie Mathis and her crew. Good, I tell you, okay. For Cassie and her crew, because these brochures didn't exist Tuesday morning, so you got they look good. We actually had them last night. The Masters of Accountancy was kind of a natural for Southern to move towards the graduate area, because we actually had it approved by the state for Southern to offer it back in the early 90s, pending approval from the state of Missouri's Board of Education, which we were not able to get until about February of this year. But what this will do is this is our first standalone master's degree, and the Masters of Accountancy is a natural because one of the things that's happening is the CPA is one of the most well-recognized, well-respected designations out there, but since 1999, you need 150 hours to even sit for the exam. This gets you right to that with a master's degree. It'll be a 30-hour degree, and the thing we kind of like about it the best is actually it's got 2 tracks to it. One is the traditional master's, where you've already completed your accounting degree, you're going to come back, which is great. The one we're really interested in, though, is it's the accelerated option, and promising juniors apply their junior year, and starting their senior year, they will start taking a blend of graduate and undergrad classes. This is, we're hoping to do 2 things. One, bring more folks into the accounting and good folks into accounting. So it's only really our top students who are going to be able to make that transition. So we really see it as a win-win, and the faculty are real excited about it. We appreciate you guys greenlighting us to move forward with the application. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're very excited about that. We have other master's programs kind of in the works in education, curriculum instruction. There's been talk even in the MBA and maybe in master's in science and management. So I think we need to take a harder look at that moving forward, because it's going to mean more to us, not only as a service to our students, but also from a funding perspective. On campus here, we've obviously been dealing with the program prioritization task force, and Crystal, back at Crystal Lemons, and her group did a great job, a lot of work, tremendous amount of work. Keeping with the schedule that we have a draft that'll go on to faculty to be reviewed, and then make a comment, and we'll work on it through this next month, and then try to get back to the board in October, perhaps maybe a little later if we could get just a little time, I'm not sure. Because I really think that we need to be, again, like you said with the presidential search, we need to be patient and deliberate and very thoughtful about how we look at this document. It has great information in it. I think as I read it several times, it may yield less financial savings than perhaps we had hoped for. You know, some programs need more funding, and that's some of the recommendations that we see in there. But there's good information there, and I think it is really an excellent base starting point for us to work on some continuous quality improvement and get back to the goals that Chairman Walter was speaking of earlier. The only thing about those goals, you said have a bunch of people working on it. Well, so far it's just a few people, but it'll end up being a bunch. Just 2 or 3 around the table. We'll have a bunch of people working on the goals. So the program prioritization, we'd like to thank Crystal for the hard work and let your group know that we appreciate that, and we'll be moving forward this fall.
Thank you.
There are a few other things that seem to me to be exciting kind of opportunities for us that I don't know that you're all completely aware of or keeping up with us as much as you might. I didn't know for sure. Right now, we're trying to reinvigorate our partnership in Tortola. You recall that was a big thing a few years ago, and it's kind of maybe stagnant's not the right word, but maybe just kind of slowed down a little bit. Have new international opportunities too, which seems to me to be very natural for our institution and our historic mission. Working on an MOU with Xi'an International University in China that could be ready even later this fall. So we'll see how that works out. Also have an interesting conversation going on a transfer track option with Shandong Tech University in China. Those 2 things we'll know more about in a couple of months. Currently, Odessa Maritime University in Ukraine, we have a program going with them and really are looking into a multimodal logistics training program that could end up being cooperative between Ukraine and students here, both places. So that's a fantastic opportunity. And you might naturally would be worried about a language barrier, but the truth is those students all study English, so it won't be an issue for us. Locally, we are working on partnerships, and I know that in the business department, Dr. Grossbeck has said that he wants to have a bachelor's in science and business administration ready to be on the ground at Crowder College McDonald County facility just as soon as it opens in January, which is really a very good, it's a good move for students, but it's also a smart move for us because with the Lion Pride tuition discount, we have the Arkansas and Oklahoma and Kansas students that will receive in-state tuition. And being very close to Arkansas and Oklahoma should be very advantageous for us. So excited about that. Also excited about theme semester, Italy. If you should have one of these in front. If you don't, I'm sure we can get you one. As you thumb through it, I think you'll just be amazed at all the incredible opportunities that are presented for students in the community to learn about Italy and participate in this theme semester. So hats off to Chad and the group. This is a terrific piece of work there. The last thing I guess I'd like to end up with, Joanne mentioned earlier that we ran enrollment ads, and they obviously did have an effect. We've done very well for the last month. Enrollment has grown, and that's been terrific. But a lot of effort this summer went into contemplating the kind of spirit and atmosphere that we wanted to create for the campus. And Cassie Mathis, she's here, so Cassie, raise your hand. And Brian Marins, the videographer, they did a lot of work in coming up with this idea of Believe. And I think Believe really just nails it. That's exactly where we should be. We need to believe in our students. Students need to believe in themselves. The community needs to believe in this university. So you're going to start seeing ads that are focused around this Believe theme. You'll see billboards probably followed up and some print advertising too. But I'd like to show you the first ad, the first commercial that's going to run on television soon. If Al will cue it up.
At Missouri Southern State University, professors like me are working hard to change the lives of students like you.
We're opening doors to better careers and life-changing opportunities because we believe this will help you change the world.
I chose Missouri Southern because I am serious about my education. And I want the tools to help me build a better life for myself and my family.
I believe in you.
I believe in your success.
I believe in my future thanks to Missouri Southern State University.
That's okay. Cassie, Brian, thank you. I think this is exactly right. It's perfect. We appreciate it. And I'd like to give them a round of applause for that. There's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any old business? Under new business, we're privileged to have a legislative update from Ms. Tina Hyman. You know, we're looking forward to hear she owes. There's always excitement going on in Jefferson City during session. And she'll tell us some very interesting things.
Great. Well, I should start by saying ciao bella. I didn't know this must have listened to me about it. Maybe we could get the legislators and me to take them on a trip to Italy? No. Maybe not. All right. Well, to start out my report, as always, it's been a very exciting year in Jefferson City. I always feel like I should bring like a bouncing ball to give my budget report because the good news is we got an increase in funding for higher ed this year. You know, the last several years I've been here, I haven't had doom and gloom saying we've been cut, this and that. But if I had given this report at the end of May, we would have been up. And then since there was a little tax bill that was passed, House Bill 253, which I'm sure you guys have all heard about. If not, I'm afraid you're living under a rock. There has been a lot of debate, and the governor has been spending a lot of time on that private jet that he purchased with Highway Patrol money last year, trying to get the legislature not to override this bill that he vetoed back in June. And basically what House Bill 253 was originally set up, it was presented from Senator Kraus in Kansas City, who, like Joplin, is very close to the Kansas border. And when Kansas did away with their LLC tax and various corporate taxes, He felt like for Missouri to be able to compete, that we needed to roll back a lot of our corporate tax and income tax. And in doing that, he would increase the sales tax. The problem is the budget gurus that Senator Krause and some of his colleagues have talked to are different than the budget gurus that the governor and other state budget analysts are talking to. And so at the end of the day, it looks like there could be a $600 million to $1 billion deficit created by passage of House Bill 253, depending on what budget guru you talk to. So to keep all the businesses in Joplin and not from running to Galena or Pittsburgh, the governor has vetoed that legislation. And on September 11th, yes, 9/11, that is the date slated for veto session when we'll see if that actually gets overridden or not. So I wish I could tell you what's in the crystal ball, but I can tell you, like President Marble commented, it is going to cost Missouri Southern close to $900,000 of the 4% withhold, and it could be up to $1.3 million if there are additional restrictions put upon the budget if it is overridden. So that's what we're looking at. I don't think I have to tell you how our area legislators voted. They all voted for it, and I think they will vote for the veto override. However, I am hearing they're caucusing today, and they are a few votes shy of getting the votes from what I understand, but that's speculation on my behalf, just what I've heard. So stay tuned. I'll have that report for you after September 11th. The other big issue that got a lot of debate and really took the higher ed lobbyists to task last session was the performance funding legislation, also that Dr. Marble mentioned. COBE has been working on their own formula. And I think one thing that we've learned from the DESE formula that was implemented 7 years ago is that trying to put a real complicated formula in statute just doesn't work. And the higher ed folks just did not want to see that, because I think you get too tied into one particular formula and you do not have the flexibility, because the budget's not going to be the same every year. Some years you're going to have increases, some years you're going to have decreases, and if you're tied into one particular formula in statute, that's not going to work. So, as was mentioned earlier, the Kofi group did get together. We were able to defeat Senator Pierce's legislation, and let me tell you, as he is chairman of Education Committee, he's been a huge proponent of Missouri Southern, of higher ed, and it was very difficult to try to go to our senator and reps and say, you gotta kill this bill. This is not good for Missouri Southern. And so we are trying to kind of patch that relationship back up. And I am very pleased to say the presidents did immediately get together after session was out and come up with our own type of formula, but it would be implemented through the appropriation process. It would not be implemented through statute. So that's what I am continuing to work on throughout the summer on that issue. I am pleased to say Senate Bill 67 did not pass. That was a bill that at one time during the session would have removed our international mission. You know, that caused a lot of discussion here on campus. And so that legislation did not pass. That is as is, and our mission is still in statute. Another big issue that we addressed that, didn't pass, but because of the timing and a lot of the new programs going on campus, may be good for us, is the fifth state bonding bill was just paid off. And so there's a group of legislators that are really looking at implementing a $1.2 billion bond issue that you, the voter, would vote on if this passed the legislature. 600 million of that 1.2 billion, approximately half of it, would go to higher ed construction. And we had a project at the top of the list to renovate Reynolds Hall, new health and sciences programs. So I would ask the board to look at that list of priorities very closely, because I think that will be continued discussion next session and probably will pass. And we want to make sure we've got the, flexibility or the leverage to get whatever project we need at the top of that list. Because I think the more we can educate the voters on where that money will go, the more likely the voters will vote on in support of that program. So that's the bonding bill. Another issue I know probably is very important to the faculty senate is the retirement issue. Missouri Southern's under a retirement program called CURP, which is Colleges and Universities Retirement Program. And in statute, and I am not a retirement guru, so I'm gonna have to ask Linda or Rob for help here, but it currently caps how much you can invest in your retirement plan at 4%. And so a group of the retirement gurus from all the higher ed groups got together and said, we would like to see that raised to 7%. And that would be much more competitive what other states around us have in their retirement programs, and we feel like that may be an enticement or another recruitment for faculty to come our way if there are additional benefits in your retirement program. So we got it passed through the House. We were not as fortunate in the Senate, so I'll be working with Senator Lamping, who's chairman of that committee, and I've already talked to a few of you about participating in that discussion with me.
Why did the Senate not think that was something?
Well, we've always had Senator Crowell in the past that has killed all retirement bills, so we were so excited that it's a go this year. And they passed a couple of police retirement bills, but we just never got it amended onto the right vehicle. And Senator Lamping, who has worked on Wall Street and is a Princeton grad, we just never could get him to buy into the project. So I think we need to spend a little more time with him. Not saying he was the main holdup, but because he did sponsor our legislation, it just never seemed to be a priority on why we needed the change.
Just for clarity on that, that's just the contributory portion, correct?
Correct. And that is correct, right? Yeah. And I think the key thing is to try to get some stories maybe here on campus where you may have some people that would have invested more, or if we have some success stories that we could tell, that would help our
Jeff is involved with some of that discussion earlier, is it?
Right, Jeff, you and I talked. Okay, so we'll keep working on that. Mitch volunteered to help me. And then just some other minor items. Our own state representative here, Charlie Davis, who's chair of Veterans Committee, he's been great in getting some issues passed for veterans. I think Missouri Southern's already following these, but it is to give in-state tuition to our veterans who are returning home from war. That passed. The governor did sign it. That will go into effect August 28th. Sunshine Law. I know I had a group of you guys looking at that. That did pass. Are we okay with how that is going to be implemented? I think we made some tweaks to it in the last version. I think we were okay with. Okay, good. I'm getting on it. Good. And then the other one that you had some questions on was the tuberculosis testing. That got watered down. It did pass. And I did underline in my report that any entering student of an institution of higher education in Missouri who does not comply with the targeted testing program shall not be permitted to maintain enrollment in the subsequent semester at such institution. So I asked the Department of Health and Senior Services lobbyists, what does that mean? They said that there would be a random questioning of some of the students, like, hey, did you travel over the summer? Did you go to, various countries out of the United States? What countries were they? If that's how they target them, if they've been in regions that are high TB. And so basically the main part of the legislation that got watered down to is that they have a brochure, some educational programs. So it's no extra cost to Missouri Southern. We did check into that and make sure that other than you have to get tested if they target you.
And those were our questions, because it just said that a targeted testing program for campuses for all on-campus students and faculty. And so staff weren't even addressed in that. And our question was, what is the targeted? We set that target as a 10%, and I think that's where some of the.
Right, it was really vague in the original initial
Very much.
bill. Right. So that's kind of my wrap up. I have the list of nearly 100 bills that we tracked, everything from prevailing wage, like I said, retirement, bonding. I've got the 9-page veto letter, if any of you guys want to read that over your weekend. I think that's about it. And the letter from Kofi, and they will meet September 5th and 6th, I understand, along with the Higher Education Board coordinating board.
Is that the 253 veto letter?
Yes.
I would like to.
Okay. Hot off the press, just for you, with his signature on it and everything.
And I know you said that it's pretty clear where our local legislators will stand on this, but I think it's also very important for us to continue to let them know how it is going to, how their votes are going to impact Missouri Southern.
I agree. And so I would be at the discretion of the board if you'd like me to help draft a letter to them between now and veto session, voicing our concerns, or however you want to proceed on that. But here's
Thank you.
I'll give the letter,
Anyone else
and then I'll give you guys a list of the bills we tracked.
Do you think the higher education formula is going to rise up next session and materialize, or you think is it set pretty much where higher ed's going to determine what's going to happen?
You mean as far as, depending on what happens during veto session or this next session?
Next session, as far as the, that foundation formula, because in secondary education, that foundation formula, when they did all the changes, they never fully funded nothing.
Right.
I mean, it's
and
never been funded.
That's what I was saying with, if you put something in statute, doesn't necessarily mean that the legislature has to follow that.
You think our governing board of higher education's got the power to, where they?
I think it's gonna ride on what Governor Nixon wants, and since he came in, he has really been pushing this performance funding. And so, as Dr. Marble said, that those measures are gonna be based on some things that we line up great in, and some things like the graduate studies, maybe not so much. And so I think where we have normally looked at equity funding across the board, and we've been successful in the years of getting us kind of ratcheted up, those years when Senator Nadler was chairman of appropriations obviously helped. But I think it's a whole new ballgame on how they look at higher education funding now. They're gonna be looking a lot more under performance based. And for example, the model that Senator Pierce had, President Piano from Truman had a very good comment. He said, they're a select university. He said, am I gonna get more points for having a student retained in that classroom, even though they're failing or not top class, or am I gonna get more points because we're only taking the cream of the crop? And so, where, like I said, in some of the formula, they're not gonna do as well, and so it's not comparing us to other universities, it's comparing how our performance is based year to year here at Missouri Southern. So it'll be interesting. Okay, well, thank you again for the opportunity. I really appreciate representing you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyna. Been a lot of things that affect us financially. We'll get a chance to share once we know the impact of different bills. We are given an opportunity to share with our elected representatives. I think it's good that we be able to share with them and tell them, so make sure they know that the impact of the bills will be on us as an institution. How about, do we have any academic policy proposals?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any other items somebody like to bring up? Our next meeting is scheduled for September 20th. And we will need a closed executive session today to talk about some items. We will look at some items and the issues that related to RSMO 610.021, 1, 2, and 3. And our session will be in room 343. So, and we have a recall, what do you call it, Sharon, a roll call, is it?
I move to go into closed session.
Second.
Thank you. So we have Governor Anderson moved and Governor Cumber seconded. Go into closed session. All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thanks for the help. Sharon?
Rod Anderson.
Yes.
Sherry Buchanan.
Yes.
Lynn Ewing.
Yes.
Jim Fleischaker.
Yes.
Keith Hankins.
Yes.
Mitch McCumber.
Yes.
Richard Walter.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for the help.
That's right. Probably join us.
Okay, that'd be fine. We're adjourned from our, we're not adjourned, we're gonna take a little break here. Some of us need to make a stop, so.